July 25, 2025, in international waters south of the Arabian Peninsula, far from any sovereign boundaries. A distress signal echoed from a Panama-flagged cargo ship. The signal carried a panicked, fragmented, and desperate voice. "We have 500 hostages, including Americans." That plea struck like a dagger to the heart of America, stirring the pride of an invincible superpower. An unknown terrorist group, from the shadows, dared to challenge the world's greatest power. In an instant, orders were given. Landing ships roared, destroyers cut through waves, SEAL helicopters sliced through the air, and reconnaissance UAVs blanketed the sky. All sped towards the hot zone with lightning speed. But they had no idea. They were rushing headlong into a deadly trap. From the distant horizon, 500 kamikaze UAVs silently rose, like a flock of black crows carrying the breath of death, ready to tear apart any illusion of invincible power. An unprecedented attack in history was slowly approaching, threatening the military might of a nation that accounts for over 42% of humanity's total defense budget. Will the American eagle be strong enough to spread its wings and soar, or will it fall in the cold ocean with every passing second? The fate of 500 hostages and the honor of a nation hung precariously on the brink of life and death. All will be revealed in today's video. America steps into the UAV trap. In the early morning of July 25, 2025, the waters south of the Arabian Peninsula were shrouded in a thick sea mist. On the commercial shipping lane between the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean, at the intersection of the planet's most strategic transport routes, an unexpected distress signal emanated from the cargo ship MV Saramar, registered in Panama, flying the Liberian flag. The 121.5 MHz emergency frequency was choked by shouts and gunfire. A man's voice weakly broadcasted precisely 3 times before falling silent. "We have 500 people, including children, being held hostage." 7 minutes later, the first video clips appeared on Telegram and Middle Eastern TikTok. In the videos, over 50 people, including elderly, children, men, and women, knelt on the deck, their hands tied behind their backs. An approximately 8-year-old boy, wearing a life vest, looked directly into the camera as a masked gunman pressed an AK barrel to his mother's neck. A faint Houthi emblem appeared in the background, alongside a trembling Arabic script, "Blood for blood. America, step back." Less than an hour later, Pentagon signal interception systems began flashing red continuously. Analysis from the Central Intelligence Agency showed the signal originated approximately 37 nautical miles from Socotra Island, directly on the oil trade route from the Middle East to Asia. More importantly, the hostage list included at least 160 U.S. citizens. Among them a volunteer medical team, 2 oil and gas engineers from Houston, and 3 members of the American Independent Press Corps, missing since March. In the White House Situation Room, a map of the region was projected onto the wall. The U.S. President, along with the Secretary of Defense, the Commander of the Fifth Fleet, and the Director of the CIA, were all present. Within 14 minutes, Operation Triton Hammer was approved. Objective: rescue the hostages before anyone could be executed. Reaction time: T90 minutes. 3 ships were ordered to detach from their commercial escort formation and turn around at maximum speed. USS Baton LHD-5, a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship, carrying 220 SEAL Team 6 operators, 4 MH-60 helicopters, and 2 Ospreys. USS Paul Ignatius DDG-117, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, responsible for upper-tier defense and providing radar guidance. USNS Laramie TAO-203, a logistics ship carrying medical equipment, reconnaissance UAVs, and emergency electronic systems. As the U.S. ships accelerated towards the coordinates, MQ-9 Reaper drones were launched from bases in Bahrain and Djibouti for reconnaissance. What they saw chilled U.S. officials to the bone. On the ship's deck, the hostages were lined up like human shields. Gun barrels rested on children's shoulders. Automated cameras live-streamed directly to the dark web, accompanied by a countdown clock. At 0246 GMT, an E-2D Hawkeye early warning aircraft detected something unusual 35 nautical miles from the target. 5 rectangular heat signatures, over 150 meters long, appeared on the sea, emitting no AIS signals. Experts immediately confirmed they were not civilian cargo ships. The heat emission structure recalled what the U.S. had encountered in the Red Sea in late 2024 disguised container ships containing UAV launch platforms, while generals at CENTCOM debated the real hostage or decoy scenario. Offshore, the MH-60s had already begun lowering lines to the ship. On the radar screen of the USS Paul Ignatius, UAV symbols began to appear, then rapidly increased, then flashed violently like a rain of fire. The battle hadn't even begun, but America had stepped into a trap. The drone swarm puts America in peril. At 05:04 a.m., the eastern sky gently turned amber. The first rays of light piercing through the thin sea haze off Socotra Island. On the deck of the MV Saramar cargo ship, the ropes dangling from an MH-60 Seahawk helicopter were almost touching the deck. The first SEALs had just landed on the metal floor when the chain of red flashing alerts on the USS Paul Ignatius's radar lit up. 22, 47, 91, 183. The number of approaching aerial objects increased exponentially. In less than 90 seconds, radar signals recorded over 500 drones rushing from 3 directions: northeast, southwest, and from the very horizon where the sun's rays shone. They varied in size, some as small as pigeons, some over 2 meters long, but all shared common characteristics: high speed, erratic flight paths, and terrifyingly precise targeting. Quick analysis showed that most were 2 UAV models: the Shahed 238, a high-speed UAV equipped with an anti-radar-shaped charge warhead, and the Wing-Lung 2Z variant, a Chinese drone customized by Iran, carrying anti-personnel fragmentation bombs. Alongside these were Ghost UAV units equipped with internal AI chips, requiring no remote control, using self-identifying target algorithms. At 05:06 a.m., the first wave of drones attacked. 2 Shahed-type UAVs penetrated the air defense layer, crashing into an MH-60 hovering over the Saramar's stern. One hit a wing, the other slammed into the helicopter's belly. Within 1.4 seconds, the helicopter exploded like a fiery blossom in midair. 8 SEALs, along with the flight crew, fell into the sea like specks of ash. Immediately afterward, the remaining 300-plus UAVs split into 3 attack waves. First wave focused on destroying the USS Paul Ignatius's SPY-1D radar and Aegis system. 47 UAVs skimmed the sea, flying lower than 10 meters, avoiding the trajectory of Phalanx CIWS rounds. Second wave targeted the remaining helicopters. The MV-22 Ospreys preparing to approach. One Osprey was hit by shell fire in its fuel compartment, bursting into flames before its rear ramp could open. The entire 2nd SEAL team was killed. Third wave, particularly dangerous as small UAVs carrying jamming equipment penetrated the electronic defense layer, knocking out satellite connections and disrupting internal navigation signals. On the USS Baton, every Phalanx CIWS gun fired until its barrel glowed red. From the Helios laser gun emplacements, hot white beams melted through layer after layer of drones. Within 9 minutes and 24 seconds, U.S. defense systems shot down 412 UAVs, an almost unimaginable number in a close-range ambush. But not all were stopped. A UAV carrying a shaped charge warhead breached the auxiliary control compartment of the USS Paul Ignatius, killing 3 watch officers. Another crashed directly into the 2nd deck of the USNS Laramie, causing a fierce fire in the fuel tank. Plumes of black smoke rose like a gaping wound in the ocean. On the cargo ship Saramar, the hostages, who had stood still like wooden statues, suddenly drew concealed pistols and submachine guns from under their clothes, firing back at the surviving SEAL team. A man in tattered clothing screamed in Arabic, his voice like an artillery command. "Fire, shoot them in the neck." The remaining SEAL team immediately returned fire. Despite being surprised and surrounded, they reacted as if programmed. Within 36 seconds, 17 disguised assailants were neutralized, but 5 U.S. soldiers were wounded, one with a broken collarbone from a bullet that pierced his body armor. As the clock turned to 05:12 a.m., the entire area descended into a fiery hell. Alarms blared throughout the ships. Orders from the 5th Fleet: launch counterattack, prioritize destroying UAV launch platforms. The rescue operation had turned into a battle for survival, and America, though caught off guard, stood firm. The military might of a superpower. At 05:13 a.m., amidst the chaos and the stench of burning metal and smoking fuel, A sharp sound echoed from the destroyer USS Paul Ignatius, Aegis system re-engaging, ready for retaliation. Just 3 minutes after its radar was knocked out by kamikaze UAVs, the electronic engineers on board had restored the core circuitry using backup power. In the command bridge, Lieutenant Jason Lemoyne, 27 years old, an MIT graduate, once deemed too young for fire control, did what software could not manually retarget, relying only on heat and wave direction. He pointed at the screen, enunciating each word. Bearing 142 UAV launch platform number 1. Fire Tomahawk now. At 05:15 a.m., the first Tomahawk cruise missile roared from the R. Lee Burke-class destroyer, shrieking at an altitude of 30 meters before diving into coordinates 14.2 Dagan, 53.3 DJ. A disguised container ship, broadcasting UAV control signals, exploded like a deceiver's heart just pierced through. A minute later, 3 more launched, heading towards 3 other launch platforms scattered in an arc to the southeast. This was when the U.S. shifted from defense to counterattack. At 05:18 a.m. on the USS Bataan, Captain Robert Haskins ordered the opening of all Switchblade 600 and MQ-9 Reaper kamikaze UAV storage bays. Deck doors sprang open, hot air rushing in as 12 Reapers soared from the ship like eagles tearing through clouds. In the pale light of dawn, they flew high, using thermal sensors to hunt for radio signal control signatures. Just 11 minutes later, a heat signature was exposed. Another larger cargo ship, wrapped in external insulation to fool infrared radar, was issuing UAV coordination commands. A Hellfire missile from an MQ-9 Reaper pierced the command tower, making the entire stern of the ship vanish in a blinding white explosion. The UAV launch platforms were obliterated, but the battle was not over. On the MV Saramar cargo ship, the remaining SEAL team had just defeated the disguised soldiers when a radio signal rang out. Resinking entire area, SEALs have the advantage. Prepare for reinforcement. Below the sea, from a depth of 30 meters, the fast attack submarine USS New Hampshire silently deployed mini-sub kamikaze unmanned underwater vehicles carrying magnetic bombs. They swam using AI mechanisms without human control, quietly approaching the hull of the 5th container ship. At 05:27 a.m., the last container, preparing for the 4th wave of UAV launches, was ripped open from below. Images transmitted via sonar captured the moment seawater flooded in through the hole like a giant blade piercing a stomach. In the sky, the remaining enemy UAVs began flying erratically, lacking navigation signals. Some crashed into the sea, others drifted aimlessly. The attack, designed to drag America into a quagmire, had collapsed at the most critical moment. For the next 40 minutes, U.S. forces conducted a 3-tiered counterattack. Upper-tier MQ-9 Reapers dominated the sky. Middle-tier Phalanx CIWS maintained a continuous barrage of fire. Lower-tier submarines and mini-subs obliterated underwater command infrastructure. Total UAVs destroyed 492 out of 500. In the USS Paul Ignatius's command compartment, Admiral Ray Mitchell, the operation commander, sat up straight, looking at the touchscreen. His eyes never left a slowly flashing red dot on the tactical map. A young officer whispered, "We have regained control, sir." Mitchell replied, his voice deep and heavy. "Not yet. Regaining is not enough. We must ensure they never dare to dream of a next time." He pressed the button to send a classified 1A signal, ordering all remaining U.S. UAVs to hunt down all enemy navigation signals within a 200 nautical mile radius. It was America's resolute declaration of war, and the Eagle was ready to spread its wings in pursuit of its prey. Signs of a larger battle. 06:12 a.m., the sun had just risen above the eastern horizon, casting its first light onto the water still littered with smoldering wreckage. The surface of the water shimmered, not from the sunlight, but from the silently burning debris of a recently sunken container ship. Gray smoke billowed high like a ghostly mast, marking where the enemy's delusion had been drowned by the unstoppable might of the superpower fleet. On the deck of the USS Bataan, Lieutenant Yuki Anderson had just finished providing first aid to a SEAL who suffered burns, but her eyes remained fixed on the right side of the container, where faint moans were emanating. Another SEAL team had just thrown open the doors to cargo hold number 3, and the scene inside stunned even the most seasoned soldiers. Over 50 people, mostly women and children, were locked in steel cages. Some were unconscious from dehydration. the rest unable to speak. But they were alive, and they were Americans. As soon as the information was confirmed, all medical systems on the ship were mobilized. Emergency aid tents were set up. Not all 500 people as initially reported, but there were at least 67 real hostages. And if the US hadn't reacted quickly, they would have become human shields in a global execution livestream. After nearly 70 minutes of engagement, the full picture became clear. One MH-60 shot down. 2 Ospreys lightly damaged but landed safely. 17 soldiers wounded. Fortunately, no fatalities. The USS Paul Ignatius's radar and CIWS were temporarily knocked out, but had recovered 80% within an hour. And on the other side, 5 container ships sunk or incinerated, all 500 kamikaze UAVs neutralized, 43 terrorist elements captured alive, 4 satellite signal sources on land identified, and all frequencies locked down within less than 6 minutes. At the Pentagon, when the final report from the 5th Fleet was uploaded to the screen, the Secretary of Defense remained silent. 15 seconds passed in the cold, steel-like room. Then he spoke, almost in a whisper. This wasn't a rescue. This was a test, and America just passed with a perfect score. At 07:04 a.m., Houthi State Television broadcast a victory statement, accompanied by edited clips of drones crashing into the sea in hazy explosions. But just 12 minutes later, the entire channel was cut. Its central server in Sana'a knocked out by a cyber counterattack codenamed Iron Mirror, executed by Unit 780 of the U.S. Cyber Command. Indeed, high-tech warfare has been transformed by advanced weapons like drones, AI, satellite signals, and data manipulation. But one thing remains forever unchanged: the strength and pride of the American superpower. At the same time, in the Arabian Sea, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group quietly approached the battle zone, accompanied by 2 Virginia-class attack submarines that had already received orders to prepare to launch Tomahawks. And it's very likely these deadly machines will fire soon, marking the beginning of a retaliation of historical proportions. All the above content is simulated, hypothetical, strategic, analytical. It does not serve to incite violence, political bias, or military or war incitement. The content is purely hypothetical and analytical speculation that could occur, originating from our individual perspective. Any misinterpretation will not be accepted. We are not responsible for any understanding or application derived from the video content. Viewers should evaluate, verify information, and engage with the content selectively. Thank you very much for staying with us until the end. If you are a military enthusiast, enjoy analysis, and like to hypothesize, then stay with our channel. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any daily updates from us. Now, you can watch some of our latest and most popular videos currently on screen. Goodbye and see you in the next video.